away with Michael Holding. Mike, it's over a year ago since the murder of George Floyd, and over a year ago since you and I and Nasser were talking on a very damp Ageas Bowl concourse where you and Ebony spoke so passionately about BLM. What are your memories of that day?
Well, that day was a day that has changed so much about me and my life, and of course things going forward. When I came up on the concourse with you there, Wardy, I knew exactly what we were going to do pre-startup play. Because of the rain, it went beyond that. And of course, we know what took place then. I didn't expect the reaction that I got, to be honest, from all over the world. I got so many positive messages from all over the world about what they had heard me say and how impressed they were with the way I had said it. And as you know, I thought, okay, people will understand where I'm coming from. Let's move on and hope that people get the message and people will actually want to act on that message. But as you know, it got a little bit further than that. It went a bit further than that, and now a book has been produced.
Well, yeah, because when I was speaking to you, you were unsure you wanted to carry on. It was like, well, I've said my piece. It's out there for anyone who wants to listen and watch what I had to say. So what changed for you to decide to write this book, Why We Kneel, How We Rise?
Well, you have a part to play in that as well, because you, as you know, came to me afterward and said, what next? And I said, well, nothing. You know, I've said what I want to say. But then after you came to me, then of course I got calls from other people. One of them was Thierry Henry, of course. I am a big admirer of Thierry Henry. I love football. He's a master. And when I heard that he wanted to speak to me, it shocked me initially. But then we had a good long chat. And he said, Mike, we have to keep on talking. We have to do more. Then I got other calls from other people. And of course, Ed Hawkins, who did my last book, said, Mikey, we need to do a book. And even when Ed said that, I said, Ed, no, I ain't going down that road again. But eventually, with all the feedback and all the positiveness that came from people and people saying it was right to say it, I decided, okay, let's go ahead and do this book. And of course, I got a lot of big names, some icons in the world sport who wanted to contribute.
So what was the purpose of the book then? What do you want to get out of it?
What I'm trying to do, Wardy, is to educate people. That is what I said then, that education is the way forward, and I'm trying to educate people as to why there is racism, how racism started, why it has continued, and the history of it all. And that is what I'm trying to do with the book. And I've delved into a lot of history. History that has not been taught, history that has never been taught in schools. As I said then, when I was a young man growing up in Jamaica, I was never taught anything that black people or people of color had done that was good. All you know about it, black people historically was slavery. Well, as we know, and as I have found out, black people and people of color have done a lot of fantastic things that have been hidden, because they want to portray this thing about white superiority, white supremacy. And if you show black people and people of color doing fantastic things, innovative things, discovering things, that is fighting against the narrative of white superiority. So it has been airbrushed out of history. So that is why I want to teach people about these things. You see, Wardy, a young person growing up, if they don't see people like them doing great things, they can aspire to it and say, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. That is what has been done to the human race, to show black people and people of color not doing great things, to keep us in a box, so to say, so to speak. And that is why I've written this book, to expose all the bad teachings that went on previously.
You say in the book, it's not a book of complaints, it's a book of facts. When you look into the facts, did even some of them surprise you?
Definitely. I was surprised by a lot of things. We are in the COVID period right now, pandemic, serious problems going on. I was taught that an English doctor is the one who was the father of inoculations, immunizations. That's rubbish. The first person to bring immunization and inoculations to this part of the world, the Western world, was a black man, a slave from Africa, long before the English doctor, long years before the English doctor. But he was never taught, because you can't say things like that and expect people to say, okay, the white man is dominant, the white man is superior, because you don't want to show what black people have done that has been great. This man goes back Boston. If you remember Boston and smallpox. Smallpox was destroying Boston. He is the one who went to his master. Obviously he's a slave, he has an owner. He went to his owner, his master, and said, listen, in Africa, this is what we do. We take some of the pus from the wound of a sick person, we cut the skin of a healthy person and just insert a little bit of that pus so that that person then builds immunity to what was entered into his body. Of course, him being a slave, they said, oh, what would a slave know? Eventually, one person said, you know what, I'm losing so many people, let me try this. And it worked. But of course, he got no credit. This little black man from Africa, how can he know things like this? So they just ignored it, that it was never written into history.
When you spoke to the likes of Michael Johnson, your compatriot Usain Bolt and Thierry Henry, were their experiences in life and in sport very similar to yours? Did it resonate with you?
Usain Bolt and myself, yes, we're both from Jamaica.
Yeah.
He's about 3 decades after me growing up. And but we had similar experiences because I was born in 1954, our independence was 62. So by the time I'm growing up as a young man, teenager, getting into my 20s, there was hardly any racism. Classism, yes, but hardly any racism. Usain Bolt, similar situation, he came much later. I don't think he ever experienced racism. But Michael Johnson, growing up in America, where the black man is 13% of the population, Thierry Henry, similar situation. Those guys experienced a lot of racism throughout their life. And both of them, though, said that they did not experience it until they left their community. And the same thing with me in Jamaica. When I left Jamaica the first time, I experienced it. And, you know, it is revealing what those guys went through as young people and the things that they had in their heads. Michael Johnson talks about his father teaching him as a young man, a young black man, what to do and what not to do if he's stopped by the police. And then he himself now having to teach his son. And one day he sat down to himself and he said, why should I be doing this? Why should I be telling my son he has to behave differently from a white kid on the street? This is rubbish. But of course, that is the life that they lived in that society. And I didn't live that life, which I'm grateful for.
Some of the things you mentioned when you, like, say, touring Australia with cricket, you sort of suggest that you sort of turn the other cheek to some of the things that were said. Do you regret that now?
No, Wardy, I don't. You know, I blame myself to a degree because I was selfish, but at the same time, time teaches you stuff. At the same time, if I had objected vociferously to what was taking place and made a big hullabaloo about it, I would not be sitting here with you now. My career would have been ended some way or the other. Look at the American guys who went to Mexico. Went up, black glove, that was the end of their career. Look at the Australian who was second, who did not even protest. All he did was suggest to them, you have one pair of black gloves, one wear the left hand, the other wear the right hand. Australia ostracized him. He died, a man that was totally ostracized out of society. The Australian government apologized to his family afterwards. So the same thing would have happened to me. I don't even have to go back that far. Look at Colin Kaepernick. He started to protest. His career came to an end. So what would have happened to poor little me? I would have been kicked out of the game. I would have been kicked out of society anywhere. And I would not be able to be here now talking to you and to write this book. So I blame myself, yes, for just brushing it off and being selfish. But looking back, history has taught me I did the right thing.
Conversations are happening, and in America, for example, Nike, Apple are starting to put some big dollars into projects. Bank of America.
Yeah.
So is progress being made?
Progress is definitely being made. But as I said when we were recording that program, the anniversary, I would love to have seen a lot more progress here in this country.
Yeah.
I want to see this country really taking a firm grip of the situation and doing things that people can look and say, yes, times are changing, people are accepting that things are wrong, and we can move forward. I'm very disappointed with some of the things that I hear people saying, but it doesn't surprise me. I'm disappointed but not surprised. When you hear people start talking about BLM is Marxist, some of the people are talking about BLM being Marxist, they don't even know who Karl Marx is or what he stood for. But they tell you that because they're trying to pull down the movement of Black Lives Matter. And I'm never ever going to talk about any political movement. I have no idea who started BLM political movement or who started the website. I care about the 3 words: Black Lives Matter. And Wardy, I'm going to go further with this England team. What they are doing now about this moment of unity, that is not supporting Black Lives Matter. Don't tell me that's supporting Black Lives Matter, because what you're doing there is when I say Black Lives Matter, you're telling me all lives matter. Footballers, I applaud them. Gareth Southgate and the England football team, I applaud them for what they are doing. They're getting a lot of stick for taking the knee. They're getting booed, but they are showing some backbone. They are showing some intestinal fortitude to say, okay, but we are still doing it because we know what we are doing. We are not doing it for a political movement. We are doing it for humanitarian reasons.
Just finally, you finished the book with "We Got a Chance."
Yes, because that is an expression my mother used to me when I was a kid. And I see that we have a chance because I see movement, Wardy. It's slow, yes, but as I said from last year, I don't expect huge strides. But once we keep moving in the right direction, I'll be happy with that. And I definitely see movement.